The land to Malamala communities at Kruger National Park in Mpumalanga. About 1,000 households will benefit from the land. The handover forms part of government efforts to fast-track land reform. Now, for more on these, we are joined from Malamala by SABC contributing editor Vuyo Mvoko. Vuyo, a very good morning to you and welcome to AM News. Now, Vuyo, could you please... Yes, Vuyo, please take us through the ceremony at Malamala today.
Well, the president is expected to arrive any time from now. We're talking here about 13,184 hectares of land that the Malamala Game Reserve occupies. Now, it is a controversial deal in that, 1.1 billion rands has been spent or is going to be spent by the state in acquiring the land, which a lot of people are arguing that it is going to set a very dangerous precedent, because from now on it's going to be difficult for others to argue for land. So, but be that as it may, a decision was taken. It was an out-of-court settlement that the government reached. So everything else is water under the bridge. So what's going to happen today is that the president is going to hand over the land officially to the people.
All right, now Vuyo, any indication as to whether the community is actually going to use the land as a game reserve or for business?
Well, for now, the arrangement is that the company that is currently running this game reserve very successfully, it must be said, that company is going to continue to do so. And there's going to be, like every month, about 700,000 rands are going to accrue to the community on their behalf. So the community is going to be in a partnership with the people who are currently running this thing. Other arrangements are being negotiated, and of course lawyers are going to get involved and craft one that everyone thinks would be ideal and would serve everybody.
All right, and Vuyo, take us through the president's itinerary as to when he arrives. What's going to happen throughout the day?
Well, what's going to happen is as soon as he gets here, this occasion is going to start in earnest. I'm sure some of the people you are seeing behind me are the people who have come here in large numbers. Well, of course, this being an election year, you're seeing a lot of ANC T-shirts. Some of them were being distributed just outside, even though this is a state function and this is a deal that was concluded a long time ago. But as soon as the president arrives, then the function is going to begin. You're going to have representatives of the community, but lawyers who worked through this deal throughout the period, but also the people who owned this facility. They are also going to talk about why they decided to settle with the government and what it means to them, and perhaps we will get an indication from them as to the sort of the nature of the deal that is currently being negotiated between them and the government and representatives, lawyer representatives from both sides of this deal.
Vuyo, are you aware of how much the government bought the land for?
The government has spent 1.1 billion. It is the single biggest transaction, and that is why critics of this deal, have been harping on to say, if you are going to spend those amounts of money on something like this, you're setting a very wrong and dangerous precedent, given that land was in fact in some instances forcefully taken over from the indigenous people of the land. So if you're going to spend such amounts, it's not sustainable, because government is not going to have those amounts. And the arguments, but of course the government on the other hand has been arguing that it was hamstrung in that a court has decided. But of course the government decided to negotiate an out-of-court settlement before the matter went to the Constitutional Court. There's a view out there that perhaps the government should have waited for the Constitutional Court to pronounce, because once the Constitutional Court pronounced, a lot of people feel that perhaps it would have set, whatever the Constitutional Court would have arrived at, would have at the very least set parameters for the deal. They continue to believe, therefore, that this deal was expensive. Of course, a lot of that is now hearsay, but perhaps it is important to point out that there are people who want this matter investigated. The public protector is working on the case, trying to establish the facts, and thereafter decide if there's a second phase or another course of action that would need to be followed. That is currently underway because that formal complaint was laid with the public protector. Your guess is as good as mine as to what will be the outcome of that process. For now, though, the deal goes ahead.
But then, Vuyo, speaking to the people on the ground, are they aware of what really this deal actually means for them as the individuals, as a community in that area?
Well, from previous conversations with the people who are here, we will be speaking a little later to both the minister and the chairperson of the trust that is actually of beneficiaries of this particular project. So we will be talking to them in about half an hour's time, and they will speak for themselves. Government, of course, will take us through why they thought that the out-of-court settlement, expensive as it may be, was the best way to go. And on the other hand, the community will tell us whether in fact they stand to reap the rewards or get maximum benefits from this deal. We'll be speaking to them in another half an hour, 45 minutes or so.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. SABC contributing editor Vuyo Mvoko talking to us from Malamala. In other news now, Thai anti-government protesters have gathered